Hello guys, how you doing? Hope you're all doing well. Um, my name is Lars, but most of you will know me as either Contrailsky on YouTube and Instagram or OKLRA on TikTok. And today I finally decided to do something that has been requested a lot, which is a photo editing tutorial. And today I had some free time and I finally got around to recording it. So the program I will be using is called Lightroom Classic. Um, it's pretty much the same as like normal Lightroom, like on phone or on PC, but it's just got like a little more options. But most of the stuff I will be using today is the same as in normal Lightroom, so you can do that as well. Um, yeah, it's just the basic editing I will be doing today is pretty much exactly the same on Lightroom Mobile and on the normal Lightroom on PC. So this right here is the shot I have decided to edit today. It's my last good picture of my recent USA trip. I also just think that this is like a picture where I will, edit it in a way that a lot of people want to see how I do it. So yeah, that's why I chose this picture. Alright, so to start off, you can see that I shot this picture pretty dark, because it was like at late sunset. The sun had almost set, but I didn't want the ISO to be too high. So you can see it's not that grainy, but it's also pretty dark. So what I'll just do for that is just drag up the exposure slider until it's somewhat alright to somewhere about here. That looks fine. We'll do the rest later. And then the first thing I always do is bring up the dehaze and clarity slider and texture, like all these three preset sliders. And basically why I'm doing that is to make the dust spots from my camera visible. And you can see one up here, one there, and then one here at the tree line. And what I'll be using for that is this little tool up here. It's like the remove tool or whatever. And I'll just take this eraser right here, and I'll just kind of simply draw over the dust spots like this, and it will most of the time do a pretty good job at removing them. It will still look a little weird, but once we remove the effects, it won't be visible anymore. Sometimes it's kind of hard with these tree lines, but it'll get it right most of the times. As you can see, it did a pretty good job right here. So now I'm happy with that. I can just double click all of the sliders to, make it back to normal. And the next thing I will do is crop the pictures. So as you can see, we kind of still have the winglet in the picture, but I think this would just be a too tight crop, so I will crop this part of the tail with this part of the wing, and I'll just do that right now. Also make sure that the picture is level, so I will just level it out with these like lights from the from the ground, so that from from levelness you can see that looks about right. And now I'll just crop this there, you can see that distance, and we'll match the distance at the winglet of the plane. There you go, that looks pretty good. And now I'll just, you see the bottom line right here, I'll kind of always put that on like the landing gear, so then the plane is somewhat centered pretty good. And there you go, now the picture already looks a lot better in my opinion. So now we'll actually get to the whole editing part. So you can see this picture looks a little flat from the colors, so I'll just put a little contrast on there, but not too much. Somewhere around 30 is pretty good. Alright, so what I'll do at this point, a lot of times, some people don't like that, but I like it. I most of the times turn my shadows up, and I'll like 90% of the time I'll just crank it up to 100. What I'll do at this point is sharpen the picture, and you can see the sharpening tool down here, the detail. And what I'll do with that is mostly like you can see like this little red part at the end of it. I'll slide it to like just before where it hits the red part, because then it will look really over sharpened. And one of the most important things of sharpening a picture, you can see now it's like really grainy. Like if I go in detail, you can see it's really like all that grain. But when you go on the masking right here and hold down your Alt key and slide that like forward, only the white parts of the picture now will be sharpened. And now if you zoom in, it's not that grainy anymore, you see? That's like my pro tip, I guess. Holding down the Alt key and sliding that to like where only the edges of the plane and the text are like sharpened. So I think with Lightroom Classic is this AI denoise tool right here, and it's really good for like these kind of situations where you can, just kind of denoise the picture without losing any detail. You can see like a little before and after right here. Um, it will just make the picture look a little more clean, in my opinion. Most of the time I only crank it up to 100 for like night shots or late evening, so I'll put this one to around 70. There you go, now it's done, and you can see the picture looks really clean now. No noise anymore, but still, all the details on here, all the rivets and everything looks fine. And by the way, what I forgot to tell you, for the sharpening, when you hold down the Alt on PC, is the equivalent to just holding down on your screen if you edit on Lightroom Mobile. So just slide this masking around and just hold your screen with the other finger, like the other thumb or whatever you're using, or like maybe your Apple Pencil, I don't know if you're on iPad. So next thing, which is also really important for every picture, I don't care what picture it is, always check these two boxes. So basically what the remove chromatic aberration is. So in some conditions with like bright light or something on your plane, there will be these like purple-ish or greenish lines around your plane, and that's called chromatic aberration. So with checking this box, Lightroom, detects those lines and will just kind of remove them. And the enable profile corrections is sometimes your lens will kind of put like a vignette on the picture, and it will just like, I think you can see it a little. Yeah, and it will kind of distort the plane inside or outward. So what Lightroom does is it has like profiles for like a lot of lenses, you can see right here, and it will detect the lens and it knows how it has to distort the picture backwards. So now I will just scroll back up again to the basic corrections, I guess. And what I like to do at this point is just kind of slide the different sliders around here, just around to where I like how the picture looks. Um, I will slide the whites up just a little more to kind of brighten the plane up a little more. Um, and then when I'm happy with this is I'll go to the presets tab right here, and I will move up the texture to something around like 30 to 40-ish. 40 looks fine for this picture. So if you turn this up too much, you can see like a halo around the plane. What a halo is, it's basically these like little bluish like lines around the outline of the plane. They will just appear, and if I slide this back to around 30 to 40, they won't be that hard, like that easy to see. So so if I slide this back to 40 or 30, it will look a lot better and you won't be able to notice these that much anymore. So yeah, I think 40 looks really good for this picture, and clarity does basically the same things but plays a bit more with the blacks and whites. So I'll slide that up to, or rise around like 10 to 20. I'll drop it to 15. That looks really fine on this picture now. Um, Dehaze is kind of like a contrast on steroids. I don't know if you knew this, but what contrast does is it kind of, if you slide it up, it will make the whites brighter and the blacks darker. So that will kind of give the picture like a nice contrast, you know. And dehaze basically does that with every color. Like it will make the orange brighter, it will make the whites brighter, and the blacks darker, and the blues darker. So if I slide this up, you can really notice that, you know, the blues get darker and the oranges get brighter and the whites as well. Um, I think on this picture I can actually like drag it up to like 5. So that will kind of give the backdrop right here and the sky a little contrast, but not too much on the overall picture. So this looks fine. Next is the tone curve. So in the background of the tone curve, you can see our histogram, and you can see it up here. It's the blacks, shadows, exposure, and highlights, which is the same right here. Shadows, darks, lights, and highlights. So it's basically the same, and you can see if I go with the shadows, it's exactly that again. It's kind of the same as up here, but like just a little different. So what helps here most of the time is just dragging down the shadows and the darks just a little bit, and the whites and the highlights as well. So something about like a little S curve looks fine. You can see it kind of gives us like a nice color, and there are also like for every color there's like tone curves. So for, you know, blue, if you drag this up to blue, it will make everything blue, and to yellow and make everything yellow. But these are only important if you want to do like specific color edits, but we won't be using that. And now a thing which is also pretty practical is this right here, the color mixer. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll take green, you know, trees, and I'll make them like orange-ish. So if you know some of my pictures, you will have definitely noticed it a lot. I like do the grass, I turn it from green to orange. I don't know, I just like how it looks. Some people don't, and that's personal preference. What I'll do for that is I'll take the green slider right here. So you you won't see anything in this picture because I only have like these greens, and they only change like a little. But if I demonstrate it on like the yellow slider, you can really see how if I turn it up to green, the trees will become green, you know, and if I turn it up to orange, they'll kind of get orange or pink-ish. But I'll actually leave the colors as they are on this picture because I really like how the colors look as they are. So that's basically the whole normal editing done. And if you want, you could just like export it how it is right now, but I still like to do a little something to the picture to make it pop a little more. And some people also don't like that, but I personally like it, and I want my picture to, you know, look good the way I like it. So that's what I do, and I think a lot of other people will also agree, you know, with me that that looks pretty cool. So as you can see in this example, the light is on this side of the plane, so the light was coming from this direction. And what I'll do to kind of make that pop a little more is I'll, you know, put a linear gradient from the other side of the light, like this. I'll drag it down from, you know, somewhere right there, and then you can like kind of turn it the way you want to. So I'll kind of put it like this, and I'll turn the exposure down like that, so it kind of makes, you know, the light pop a little more. And sometimes I'll notice that it looks still like a little warm, so I'll turn the and sometimes in my opinion it will make it look a little weird and warm, so I'll just turn the temperature down to look a little more colder, and that will give it more of like an actual dark look. And in this example, I can actually turn it a little more to create even more contrast. So about that looks right. And also sometimes I will just put another gradient from where the, you know, from where the light comes, and I will turn the exposure up, something like that, and I'll also make it more warm. So there's like, you know, all that contrast. And in my opinion, this looks really cool. It looks like the sun is right there, and then It's already dark back here. And what I will do now is I'll create another linear gradient, and I'll turn that up to below the plane, but I won't drag the exposure down. I'll actually drag the sharpness down to make it blurry down here, so that will kind of make the plane pop a little more, and it will make it look a little more sharper. So also in this picture you can see we don't really have any blues, or we don't really want any blues, as like the trees are really like grayish, and the sky was gray as well. The sky, this wasn't a blue sky. So what kind of annoys me sometimes is the blue reflection, like on the plane of like the shadows, and back here as well. So what you can do to kind of like reduce that is go to the color mixer and go to saturation, and then find the blues. And as you can see, if we turn that up, it will really like make the blues pop, and the gradient that we just did, but we don't really care about that. So we can actually take this saturation down, and we'll kind of make it look a little more white again, and this looks way better now as well. And I just think it looks a little better with the white wings actually being white. But I won't turn this down all the way, then it'll look like really flat. But like -60 is like pretty good in this example. So yeah, this is already the finished picture. It wasn't that hard of an edit because we already had the light on the plane, and everything else was looking pretty good as well. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. And actually, let me show you. This is the before and after. So you can really see the gradients that we put on the sky. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you next time. Bye.